So he's just trying to remain comfortable. He's just trying to continue ongoing treatment. He doesn't need this garbage. And neither did Catherine. Catherine went through the fire with cancer. I've been through the fire with cancer. Made me love that beautiful woman even more, to know that she went through everything she went through, being a mom to 3 kids. And I went through my cancer journey. My twins were 4 years old, so they didn't really know or understand the entirety of what was happening. George was older, and so was Charlotte. So I can imagine for Catherine having it be even more difficult, because there's only so much you can hide from kids that are. So I'm just very protective of people going through cancer. And to see Harry just try to milk the press of a possible reconciliation with his father to the extent that he's doing it, it's just disgraceful. It's absolutely 100% disgraceful. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jennifer. I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. So very first thing, a few housekeeping items. Thank you so much for those of you that have reached out inquiring about our family move to Germany. The last 2 weeks have been crazy, but we are here. We are safe. We are in our temporary house right now, and I just have to say I am really, really enjoying Germany so far. So is my mom and my kids, and of course my husband. We are here for his job, and the weather is just, first off, fantastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. We've lived in Texas for the last 10 years. So right now in Texas, you know, it's almost like triple digits every single day, hot, muggy, just really like you cannot spend any length of time outside in the dog days of summer. It's nuts. Here, not so much. It's beautiful. Some days it's like raining while the sun's shining, but like these little drops. It's so beautiful. I mean, it's about a high of 78 to 79 practically every single day. Some days a little bit cooler, but it's such a lovely respite from what we're used to. And since we've been here, the kids have been going to the park every day, making some new little friends before their school starts, and they're happy and excited. I'm just happy and excited that they're happy and excited. We've been walking around, trying German food. It's just been really, really a great time. So I am looking forward to our 3 years here in Germany. We will be going back to the States, of course. We're still technically US based, but just really loving and enjoying the time here in Germany. But there's, you know, a lot of things we got to do. We got to get all new doctors, just a lot of things. My son is a type 1 diabetic, diagnosed at age 3, and we've had the same pediatric endocrinologist for going on 10 years now. So that was a huge thing for me. The doctor that we met so far, I am absolutely loving him. I'm going to have someone kind of take over my surveillance care. Even though I am a cancer survivor, I had a colonoscopy this past spring that showed some precancerous stuff. But we did take care of that, so it's all good. But point being, you know, we got to find a new doctor team for me, all this stuff. We got to find a new orthodontist for my kids, all this craziness. But you know how it is. If you have ever had an overseas move with the family, you know, with more than yourself, with a family, you know all the moving parts, all the things you got to do. So there's been a lot of that, you know, but there's also been a lot of fun too. But anyway, just wanted to thank you guys for that. And I also wanted to thank you so much for the awesome response I got on my 5-part How to Spot the Narcissist series. I basically took the Meghan Emma Grede Aspire podcast interview, the one that was an hour and a half, and I got like 6 hours of material practically. I filmed all of that before we moved to Germany, and I was editing it kind of both in Texas and here when we got here, and just, you know, releasing like one a week so I would have a buffer of time for myself, because I knew the move and the flight and the jet lag would be crazy, because I think we're 7 hours ahead here, 7 or 8 hours. So that was a bit rough. It took the family about a good 7 to 10 days, especially me and the kids and grandma, to kind of get with the German time change. My husband, he's crazy. My husband can sleep standing up. I mean, I wish I was like him. He adjusts a lot quicker because, I mean, he was in Guinea, in Conakry for 3 years, these past 3 years. So he's used to just like being all over and having all crazy times, but us and the kids and grandma, not so much. But anywho, so I filmed that whole series before we left, and I released release them slowly, kind of drip them. And you guys loved the series. So if you like that format of me just kind of analyzing certain things, you know, obviously not only with Meghan, but hopefully I'm hoping to kind of branch out with other things, let me know. And as far as Meghan goes, let me know what interview or what something from the present or past that you want me to analyze. I'll be more than happy to do that. But that interview was such a wealth of just good, juicy info and nuggets and things that we could take from her blatant narcissism and how we can apply how she navigates and, you know, runs her life. We could look at that, apply it to our own lives, and just strive to do better and not just take the drivel and the crap that people like her force feed on us, the public, all the time. How we can look at that and reject it and say, no, we demand better from her and also from ourselves, how we can learn from someone like her. So I'm so glad you guys enjoyed that 5-part series. I'll link it below if you didn't catch it. Yeah, so that was a really fun one to do. A lot to talk about. Too much. There is no rest in the royal news cycle, whether Meghan is deliberately planting stuff or whether she is behind the scenes like Mr. Burns paying PR to just constantly pump out these puff pieces that are so clearly, so clearly have her fingerprints, her dirty little fingerprints all over it. Like, that is kind of what we've seen in the past 2 weeks. Not so much stuff from her directly, but stuff from peeps that you know she's paying. So we're going to get into all that regarding the reconciliation story between Charles's household and supposedly Harry's household. How Harry, have you been hearing these rumblings? How Harry apparently went AWOL for 3 days in Botswana, and how he's now throwing out an olive branch to his family, saying that, you know, he will open up his diary, his calendar to them so as to just basically acquiesce and just tell them that he doesn't want to interfere with anything, out in the public that they're doing because he doesn't want to steal their thunder. So basically he's trying to play nice. We're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about her as ever or as never failing brand and how the wine sales are not doing well, how that's just flopping like a dead fish. And what else are we going to talk about? What else? Oh, yeah. And this is just basically how Netflix is not renewing these two fools in September. Like, remember in the Emma Grede podcast where she's just basically going on and on and on and on about how Netflix is such an invested partner. And she's constantly trying to frame it as if Netflix and her are on equal footing, right? Like she's such a visionary and a founder and a brand owner, and Netflix and her, they're just on the same playing field, and how she was always trying to paint that picture, how that's kind of dead in the water. And then there's all these little stories now coming out about how she's trying to say that she's renegotiating something with them. Like, oh, good Lord. I mean, come on. So we're going to talk about all of that. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is the actress Sydney Sweeney. Now, first off, I just want to tell you, I Googled this young lady. She is absolutely beautiful. She's 28. I thought she was a little younger, but she's 28, almost 30 years old. She's apparently was on the first season of the White Lotus show, which I've never watched. She also was in a couple of movies. She's in some other HBO show right now. I have no idea. I've never watched anything with this girl. The only thing I know about Sydney Sweeney is that she is embroiled in a controversy right now for ads she has put out with American Eagle. There are tons of people out there saying that the ads are just very far right. Some people are saying that it's Nazi propaganda and all this kind of drama. I'm not going to go into that. I don't think that it's Nazi propaganda. I think that it's trying to be just cutesy little ads for these Gen Alphas and Gen Zers who are all into this kind of stuff. But what I do want to talk about this whole Sydney Sweeney thing is, so of course I see these headlines and I watch these ads, and rather than talk about the controversy surrounding the ads and all that, the only thing that I could think that was so kind of just glaringly obvious to me as I was watching this young, beautiful young lady is what is with the vocal fry. And I'm not just saying that this is a Sydney Sweeney thing, because mind you, I just found out about this girl a couple days ago. I had no idea who she was. But I'm watching this ad, and I'm going to show it to you guys. And okay, maybe I'm just an old 51-year-old, party pooper or something. I don't know. But have you noticed that everyone under 30 rather, they all talk like Kim Kardashian now. And I think Kim K was the first person to really introduce into the lexicon this term vocal fry.
Speaking, experts call it vocal fry, and they believe Hollywood and reality TV could be to blame here.
As our Melissa Reed reports, it has some local doctors a bit worried.
I don't think it's asking for too much to stay in a
You've
nice
probably
hotel.
never heard of it, but you've probably heard it before.
It is my birthday. I'm allowed to have a little fun after all.
Hi guys.
Experts call it vocal fry,
That's so cute, or that's so pretty.
and it's creeping into the conversations of young women.
I love your makeup.
Vocal fry is when the voice sinks from the front to the back. It sounds kind of like bacon sizzling on a pan. So it sounds like this. Instead of saying, hello, how are you? We'd say, hello, how are you? I'm okay.
Dr. Nicole Maronian with the Laryngology and Voice Disorder Center at UH says she's seeing more cases of vocal fry, also known as glottal fry, in young women.
In high schools and middle schools, I've noticed that a lot more. From my generation, I would just initially say that's like a valley girl.
So why is this low-pitch way of talking so popular? Experts say pop culture.
I got into a fight with my sister's boyfriend.
You know how like her and Courtney and Chloe, they all talk like this. They all talk like kind of like Valley Girls, but even like more super slow. And I'm from California myself, so I've heard over the years growing up that like we definitely have a way of talking in California. But I think the Sydney Sweeneys of today are even taking it to the next level in the way that they talk and the way that their voices inflect. And to me, it seems performative. It doesn't even seem real. So I'm going to play this to you for you if you haven't seen this ad to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I want you to listen to the way that she speaks and tell me what you think.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweeney has very keen.
You see what I did there, right?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that she is super, super cute. She's super cute. Apparently, she's a pretty good actress. Like I said, I've never seen anything that she's been in. But I watched this ad, and I watched a few interviews on YouTube that she's given as well. And mind you, I know that I talk like an American. A lot of people, around the world, they know an American accent. They, beyond that, can even say, oh, she's probably from the West Coast or probably from California. I'm the first to admit, and I know this because I edit my own videos, I say like a lot. I'll say yeah, I'll say right. And for example, Meghan always says right when she talks. And I do that too. I was born and raised in Southern California, so I get it. But I think this is even beyond a little bit. They're slowing their speech down, like really slowing it down. And it's got like a cadence that's like kind of like this. And it's like, oh my gosh. And like the words kind of like all run into one another. And I'm not making fun of her. I'm really not. But I'm just saying like she's not the only person that I've noticed this about. I've noticed so many of these young celebrities and influencers now. They all talk like this. The words all run together and you can't really like understand what they say a lot of the time. And it's just like this all the time. And I'm just like, like why? Like why are they talking like this? I just think it's so funny. But I do think the commercial's cute. I do like where they're going with it. I don't think that it's Nazi far-right propaganda. I think the people that are saying that really need to get a grip and just have a little fun. But I am noticing the really intense vocal fry that's happening. Have you guys noticed that as well? A lot of these young girls, like the way they talk now, it's like, oh my gosh. And I've even noticed, I don't let my daughter watch a whole heck of a lot of YouTube. She's got one of those protected YouTube accounts that are adult supervised, and she doesn't have social media or anything like that. But sometimes I've noticed even my daughter, sometimes when she's talking like this, and I'm looking at her like, hello, are you my child? Why are you talking like that? I don't know. Let me know what you think. But watch that commercial again. Tell me if you can hear that as well. I mean, there's a difference between someone like me that sounds like an American that says like a lot to this kind of thing, where it's like, oh my God, buy my jeans. Don't buy my jeans. Doesn't matter. I'm getting paid no matter what. I don't know. But she is very cute. She is very, very cute. I will give you that. But I thought she was a lot younger. I would have said she was 21, 22. So I would have probably given her 100% pass on talking like this because she's just trying to be cool. But to know that she's almost 30 still talking like this means that there's more and there's more and there's more people that are talking like this and thinking that this is a normal way to speak. And I don't know. I just find it a little bit like nails on a chalkboard there. Let me know what you think. But yeah. Okay, so on to Megaliar and Handbag Harold. So we all heard last week about this supposed reconciliation summit going on between Charles' people and Harry's people. And what I noticed is all the different articles that I was reading, whether it was from the Daily Mail, the Mirror, the Sun, listening to the commentary from some of these newspapers, they're all talking about how it was a meeting between Charles's household, his communications secretary, and Harry's household. And I'm thinking to myself, Harry doesn't have a household. He's not a royal anymore. He is a has-been that lives in Santa Barbara County now, okay? He is not a full-time working royal anymore. But do you see how this really does prove, in my opinion, that this is just stuff being pumped out by Harold and Fraud's PR teams? Because who the else heck would phrase it as this is Harry's household trying to communicate with his father's household? And I get it. I get that Charles is ill and he is, again, not in the best of health. He probably really does want to reconcile with his son. And as a Catholic Christian, you know, I could sit here and talk to you all the livelong day about how freaking annoying Harry and Meghan are and all the horrible, rotten things that they do and have done. And, you know, we all have the receipts for this stuff. So we can talk about that and demand better. But I'm not going to fault him for wanting to make up with his son. Of course, he's going to want to do that. And of course, as a Christian himself, Charles is going to want to do that. So we can't fault the man for that. But I think that anything that happens in that vein is going to have to be private. I've said that for months and months. It's going to have to be private. And I'm sure that's what Charles's household wants. It to be private, a private reconciliation behind the scenes. But it's Harry and Meghan's people that want to keep this in the public eye. They want these stories. They want this because they have nothing left. They have absolutely nothing left than to ride on the coattails of his family's name. So that's why these stories are being pushed out to us. And that's why their team is trying to put in these subtle digs almost as if to say, yes, remember, he's still royal. He's the king's son, his household. So many of us aren't buying it. I do think that that story was leaked by Harry's people. I do think so because of the way that they're using these terms, his household, all this garbage. I don't particularly think that William is involved in any of this. William is still wounded and very distrustful of his brother, rightly so. His brother insulted his ill wife. Catherine was suffering from cancer, getting treatment from active cancer, while Harry's wife was, in my humble opinion, deliberately taking jabs at his wife over and over and over in the press. And so did Harry. Harry wrote despicable things about Catherine in his memoir, Spare. He disclosed personal text messages between his wife and Catherine. How extremely distasteful and horrible do you have to be? So of course, William is probably not buying it. William probably wants nothing to do with a reconciliation. I'm sure William does know that his father wants this, and he's probably just taking a step back and saying to himself and among his wife and his own family, we're going to do our thing. Let my father do his thing. So that's the first thing. I firmly believe that that was all Harry's team pumping out that garbage. So if they want to reconcile, great. But Charles is going to have to make sure that it is 100% private. And in my opinion, that's what he's trying to do. It has to be private. It has to be. But Harry doesn't want it to be private just because he can't afford for it to be private. Because I do believe, in addition, that Harry and Meghan are not in a good space. I believe that Harry is in a space where he is probably really, really trying to crawl back on his hands and knees to his family. And there's a part of him that still thinks that he can do it and still kind of assume his old role as being, the fun-loving younger brother. And he wants to enjoy the popularity that he had before he married that woman. What he's probably not getting is, he'll probably get his reconciliation because his father is probably all for the reconciliation, but it's going to have to be him crawling back privately and quietly. And he's never going to assume that level of popularity and that level in the family that he had before. It's not going to happen. I don't believe that William's going to stand for it at all. And I do think Harry's still under that delusion that he can come back and be as popular as he was before. Just give it time. I'm sure Harry has got people in his corner that are whispering in his ear telling him, look, remember Queen Camilla's reputation and name in the British tabloids? She was so desperately unpopular for such a long time. See how now she's been accepted? Now she is the queen. Who would have thought that 15 years ago, someone as deeply unpopular as Camilla would now be getting the respect and the positive press that she is now enjoying? So people are probably whispering in his ear that you can come back too. You can have that type of comeback as well. But the difference is, what people aren't telling him and drilling into his thick noggin is that Camilla was quiet. She always kept quiet. She always worked quietly behind the scenes. And when she did marry Charles, she worked quietly to gain the respect steadily over years and years and years. She did the hard work and kept her mouth shut and respected the institution, respected what it stood for, and showed up and did what she needed to do in order to gain the respect of the British public, and not only the British public, but the American public and the public at large around the world. She didn't speak ill of the family. She didn't write memoirs where she just talked trash about everyone in the family that she didn't like. She is a respectful, quiet, classy person. And that's why she is now more popular than ever, because she did the hard work. Harry never really did the hard work. He always had his family covering for him. He always had the institution covering for him. He was always a big screw up. And now, not only that, he left the family and trash talked them, has trash talked them for going on 5 years since they split from the family. And he thinks he can just now come in at the 11th hour and just, hopefully maybe a year or two, and then he'll be back into the fold how he was before. That's not how it works. You have been just so terrible. You've been awful. You've been a traitor. I mean, people would have been taken to the Tower of London for far less, 500 years ago, for far less than what, a third of what this man has done. So it's just disgusting. This reconciliation story, I think it's disgusting. As a Christian, I am all for Charles, the king, reconciling privately with his son. The problem is that Charles is not dealing with anyone that has any sense of reality. Harry's crazy, and so is his wife. Harry is selfish. Harry is egotistic. He just wants what he wants when he wants it. I mean, this man is 2 tacos shy of a combination plate, okay? And unfortunately, I don't think that he is going to want to come back into the fold quietly the way that Charles wants him to. So this is going to be a very interesting development because he's always going to want more. He's always going to demand more. He should be just doing all of this under the radar. We shouldn't be even reading about any of this kind of garbage. He should be on his hands and knees in private going to his father. And even if he really does think that him and Meghan are owed an apology, all this needs to be done in private. In private. Your father is ill. I personally believe that he is probably dealing with a cancer that is not curable. That's why it's always spoken about and written about as ongoing treatment. For example, I was diagnosed stage 3B rectal cancer. I caught it in time. My oncologist told me that if I had waited anywhere from even 3 to 6 months before going in and finding out what I found out, I probably would have been stage 4. It probably would have been incurable, and I probably would have had to have gotten ongoing treatment. Who knows what my survival rate would have been or how long I would have had. In my personal opinion, I do think it's tragic. I do think that, Charles is just receiving treatment and trying to stay as healthy for as long as he can. But I personally feel everything that I know about treatment, cancer treatment, I feel that it's probably stage 4. So he's just trying to remain comfortable. He's just trying to continue ongoing treatment. He doesn't need this garbage. And neither did Catherine. And I released a video about Catherine and her cancer journey about 3 months ago. I'll link it in the description. It's one of my videos that I'm most proud of. Catherine went through the fire with cancer. I've been through the fire with cancer. Made me love that beautiful woman even more, to know that she went through everything she went through, being a mom to 3 kids. And I even talk about in that video, when I went through my cancer journey, that, what my oncologist called my year of cancer, my twins were 4 years old. So they didn't really know or understand the entirety of what was happening. George was older, and so was Charlotte. So I can imagine for Catherine having it be even more difficult, because there's only so much you can hide from kids that are older. So I'm just very protective of people going through cancer, and to see Harry just try to milk the press of a possible reconciliation with his father to the extent that he's doing it, it's just disgraceful. It's absolutely 100% disgraceful. And then to see these articles, and I have it pulled up here, from these rags like people.com, where they're talking about how apparently, so people saying Prince Harry has reportedly offered to share his official schedule with the royal family in an apparent olive branch move. The move would allow for transparency regarding his diary and his public outings to avoid conflicts between his events and the royal family's outings. And it could also mean that Prince Harry and King Charles could work out a time to meet in person. And I'm thinking to myself again, that is Harry's ego talking. You are not a full-time working member of the royal family any longer. You are not working for the public in any capacity, in an official working capacity. Anything that we see Harry doing now, like that little stunt he pulled for the Halo Foundation, walking through the minefield, or whether he's flying somewhere to talk about climate change and all that, I'm not going to say that he received money from the Halo Foundation for that appearance. I don't know if he did or not, but most of these appearances, these things that he goes to on these stages, when he gives these little speeches, he's getting paid. I'll tell you right now, he's getting paid. So the royal family, they work their charitable patronages and their endeavors. They go out representing the monarchy and the institution. They're working in a capacity to serve the public. That's not what Harry does. So he's not at that level anymore. But just to know that these rags are pumping out this type of information to the public, do they think we're stupid that we're going to be like, oh yeah, he's sharing his diary and he's being nice and he doesn't want to, outshine the royal family. He wants to play nice now. It's like too little too late, my friend. First of all, you're not on the same standing. And second of all, nobody cares. Nobody cares. What is he releasing in his diary that William and Catherine are going to care about? What is he releasing in his diary that Charles and Camilla are going to care about? Like the royal family is sitting there pacing the floor, saying to themselves, oh, thank goodness Harry is finally sharing his diary. Now he won't overshadow what we're trying to do. Give me a major freaking break. I don't know, but doesn't that really just tick you off to read that kind of stuff? It really, really ticks me off. But what doesn't tick me off is to read stories about how Meghan's As Ever brand is flopping. Because I'm sorry, if anyone's brand deserves to flop, it's this woman. The execution is lazy, the branding's lazy, the packaging is subpar, the product by all accounts isn't good. Anything that we've read from all over the internet, from the Daily Mail to all these publications and people reviewing her jam. Well, sorry, it's not a jam, it's a sauce, but they're reviewing her spread, her sauce, her wine. They all say it's subpar. They all say there's nothing special about it. We all know, and I've made videos about it. So many people have made videos about her stuff. It's all white labeled. She's farming it out to third parties, slapping her name and her label on it and just calling it good. And that's her brand. But then she goes on this podcast, like I showed you guys in my 5-part Spot the Narcissist series. She goes on these podcasts and tries to frame it as if this is her baby that she's just been, dreaming up and pouring her heart and soul into. Come on, lady, give us a freaking break, okay? Kylie Jenner spends more time on her lip kits and spent more time on her branding than you do. And that's why she's a success. And Kylie's got people working with her on her team, but she still has input. You can still see that she's at least doing something to make that brand a success. But Meghan is not. She is absolutely not. And to hear these stories about how Netflix is no longer renewing a deal with her and Harry when their deal expires in September, it's like, shocker there. I personally think that whole Emma Grede Aspire podcast was her last ditch attempt to make it seem to the public that her and Netflix are simpatico, that they're like this, that they're on the same level, and that they're 100% full-fledged partners, and they just believe in her. They think she's so wonderful. That's just a bunch of garbage. I think she knew that it was going to come out. She knew that Netflix in July, like they do every July, was going to release their ratings and show all their shows and how they ranked and who watched and all that stuff. We saw the figures. The figures are freaking embarrassing. 383. And yes, she got what? I wrote this down. She got 5.3 million viewers of her show, her first season of As Ever. But that was overall. And yes, she got a lot of attention the first week, but every week thereafter, it went further and further and further down on that list to an embarrassing 383. And I am sorry, but $100 million, that is not worth $100 million. And there's so many people out there that have said that they never even really got that was just something that her people spun to make it seem like it was worth way more than it was. And I'm sorry, no one buys it. No one buys it. So yes, they'll probably release this so-called season 2, but don't be fooled. Again, like so many of us out here are telling you, it was all filmed at the same time. It is not a second season. It was all filmed at the same time. They're just releasing it at a later time. And she's trying to make it seem like it's a second season. Like the first was so successful that Netflix was like, oh, hot damn, we gotta release the second season. No. Netflix has every right to release it because they're trying to, get blood from a turnip at this point. They're just hoping that more and more people will hate watch because so many people are watching this woman fail on such a global stage. And they're just fascinated by the fact that she just keeps going. She just keeps doing the same shtick over and over and over, thinking that she's somehow going to succeed. But I'm sorry, no one's buying this crap. Okay, and the latest round of trash being served up hot and fresh to us was this article that I read from the Daily Mail by this Charlotte Griffiths, where she's basically trying to spin to us, her and Meghan, because they're all in cahoots, says Meghan locked in negotiations for new Netflix deal because their $100 million 5-year contract is set to expire. But you know that this is Meghan's bloody fingernail on a chalkboard. She's having a crisis meeting with her PR people in Monta Shit Show, where she's like, you have got to put something else out there to counter all the stories that are saying that Netflix is done with us. So put something out there that's saying that they might not want Harry and me, but they at least still want me, that I'm locked in negotiations with them. So listen to this garbage, again, being served up hot and fresh for you, okay? So it's saying the Duchess of Sussex is locked in negotiations for a second contract with Netflix. The streaming giant has decided to drop a new deal with Meghan after the Sussexes' 5-year contract comes to an end in September. And they're citing it on this article because it's a UK article at £73 million, whereas it's 100 million US value. Reports last week claimed that Netflix was going to drop the couple, having decided that the arrangement with them had run its course. But the Mail on Sunday can reveal that the second series of With Love Meghan will be the first show to air under the renewed agreement and is due to release this autumn. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together is not buying this. This all was filmed this past spring. It's all stuff that Netflix already has in the can. And Netflix has watched over the last 3 months this woman botch and bumble this so-called as ever brand, and I'm sure they want to distance themselves as far from it as they can. The jam and spread, or whatever the hell Meghan wants to call it, is runny. No one really likes it. No one likes the wine. What type of business is she running? You go to that website right now, and I checked it today as we speak, okay? This woman still has not restocked anything on the website. What type of business are you running here, lady? It's scarcity marketing. We've all talked about it. I talked about it on my 5-part Spot the Narc series. It's all her playing with us. She probably had a few thousand units to move of each individual product, but she's playing it as if it's so popular that it's selling out, selling out, selling out. She's doing that for the press because it strokes her ego and makes her feel good, but she was also, I believe, doing it so that Netflix, their peeps would hear it and think, oh, okay, well, maybe they're not stupid either, lady. Okay, but anyway, I digress. So that's what she's basically telling this Charlotte Griffiths, like, oh, no, season 2 is part of the renewed contract and it's coming. Yeah, whatever. Last night, sources close to the streaming giant said, make no mistake, a deal is being worked through as we speak. And then they're talking about, it's not so much with Harry because, Polo wasn't really that great. And Heart of Invictus wasn't that great either. But that she's such a wonderful hot commodity that Netflix still is clamoring to work with her. Well, let me just tell you this. Well, hold on. Let me just go into this trash a little bit more. Meanwhile, interest in former actress Meghan, who starred in legal drama series Suits, which remains one of the streaming giant's service's top shows, it continues to be higher. Yeah, it continues to be higher than her As Ever flop. Her With Love flop show. And it's saying, if you're in the top third of Netflix, you're getting another deal. Yeah, not necessarily, okay? It's understood that Meghan's new series was filmed at the same time as Series 1 was recorded last year. Yeah, it was. So she has also a collection of products as ever. Yeah, she does, and they suck. Another source says whatever happens at the end of the contract is that people renegotiate. But when doing any kind of commercial negotiation, both sides are not allowed to talk about it. And all this I'm like, whatever. What absolute garbage and drivel. And then it's saying that, they're just in talks and that even though Polo was a flop, it's worth remembering that Harry and Meghan had the biggest documentary on Netflix in 2022, their documentary where they trashed their families. That was 3 years ago. Nobody cares. And that alone could have afforded them 50 flops. I'm sorry, no, it couldn't. Not for 2 has-beens as handbag Errol and Meghan Markle. And I know I'm ranting, but it is so unbelievably, it's such a spin. It is such a desperate attempt to spin the narrative because she cannot have people out there speaking the truth, showing the public receipts. People aren't talking about this, about them flopping with Netflix, unless there is some truth to it. They're not talking about it unless it's true. And it is true. And the figures that Netflix themselves has published confirm that no one cares about her show. No one's watching it, okay? People would rather re-watch reruns of Suits than watch With Love Meghan. What are we gonna watch? Her whip up a killer bath salt recipe that's gonna burn your skin off, okay? I'm an esthetician. I made a video about how irresponsible it was for her to just pour a bunch of essential oils and salt and mix it. She didn't offer ratios. She didn't do anything. She rebagged pretzels, for God's sake. No one is watching this crap. No one cares. And Meghan's people are even trying to frame it as if part of the renegotiations is that it's a first look kind of deal. And that is basically saying that anything that Meghan will come out with, that Netflix will have first look rights, that they'll be able to look at it first and decide whether they want to gamble and invest on it and move forward with it. But that's not the type of deal that she got 5 years ago. And that is what is so unbelievably satisfying, is because think about it. They entered into that Netflix deal because they were releasing inside information about the monarchy, well, their version of the truth, their version of what their experience was with the family, and 6 hours of trashing their family. That's what they did to monetize their experience in the family. And that is really coming from an evil, disloyal, traitorous place. And that's what happens when you are a turncoat, when you're a Benedict Arnold, when you turn on the people that love and support you and try to sell them out for an almighty buck, for $1, for £1. That's what happens. And the truth comes out. As the truth has come out over these last 5 years about who these people really are and what they're all about. No one likes liars. No one likes traitors. And in my humble opinion, and in the opinion of millions of people, they are liars and they are traitors. They have sold out their family. And it didn't help that Charles developed cancer and that they're still trying to milk and attack him. It doesn't help that Catherine developed cancer and came out the other side and, is now in remission. Thank the Lord. The people that they're attacking in their family, sick family members who are undergoing things and walking through the fire to try to keep themselves and their own families together. That's who they were attacking. That's why people don't like them. People have receipts about all of the lies and mistruths and half-truths that these two have hurled at their families. That's why they're not succeeding. So this is just, I'm sorry, what you call just desserts. And personally, this is what I think that the Lord himself is allowing to happen to these two people so that they can somehow hopefully see the light and turn their lives around. But unfortunately, Harry and Meghan are still continuing to ride the crazy train. They're still all aboard that train. They're still trying to milk every little bit of their title that they can. They're still trying to sneak back in. Well, Harry is trying to sneak back into the family if he can. But the problem is that he won't be able to do it with his wife in tow. His wife, I believe, is a big fat coward who does not want to go back to the UK because she knows how deeply unpopular she is. And she is going to stay in the US. And if they do divorce, that woman is going to make her husband's life a living hell. And I am doing, if you haven't watched it, oh, please do. My latest book that I'm reading on the channel is called Errol Flynn Slept Here. One of the last episodes I did was talking about Errol Flynn's first marriage to the silent French movie star Lily Demita. He was married to her for 7 years and he was a notorious womanizer and cheated on her, and they fought like cats and dogs and actually almost killed each other. But point being, they were only married for 7 years, and she was so intensely jealous and vengeful that she spent the rest of her entire life milking everything she could out of Earl's life and making his life an absolute living hell. And he ended up losing his home, Mulholland House, and the estate that it was on, the 11 acres, Mulholland Farm, to her because of the fact that he couldn't keep up with the constant barrage of alimony payments and all the stuff that she was constantly trying to sue him for and all this stuff. But anyway, I see such parallels there between Meghan and Harry because she is going to make sure that she milks that man and his family for all they are worth. So if she is still in negotiations with Netflix, I guarantee you, mark my words, that this woman is not including Harry in any of these negotiations. And she's basically telling them, look, you need to have me still somewhere here in the Netflix family, because when we do divorce, I'm going to have my tell-all book, or I'll do a documentary. I'll spill even more trash and more dirt. Remember how she told us all on that cut article that she didn't sign an NDA, right? She didn't do any of that stuff. So she is just free to just let it all out and tell us everything she wants to tell us about her time in the royal family. But the problem is, what Meghan isn't foreseeing is that no one gives a crap what she has to say, because we know that she's a liar. In my humble opinion, I believe she's a liar, and so many around the world think she's a liar too. So no one's gonna buy what she's selling. they might hate watch or hate read something that she puts out, but the majority of the people are not gonna buy it. She might earn a buck or two from it, but the reputation is just gonna go further and further down into the toilet. So that is just, it's just disgusting. That is my take, my hot mic take on all this stuff going on. What do you guys think about this reconciliation story? What do you guys think about how Harry has so generously offered up his diary to Charles and Charles's household, the royal family, so that, you know, he can play nice and not conflict with their calendar? I mean, to me, how egocentric are you to say that you're still at the same playing field as the royal household, the actual working British royal family? I mean, give me a break. What do you think about all this stuff? We all knew that Meghan's brand is just a flop, and it's going to continue to flop. It's sad. You don't want to necessarily see people fail on this massive scale and fall flat on their face, but you do want them to have a come to Jesus moment and to atone. I don't think she's going to atone, and she's still going to be set for life, people. So don't feel that sorry for her. Same with Harry. They still have millions, okay? What they need to do is downsize their lifestyle. They don't need a 16-bathroom mansion in Montecito, okay? They don't need that. They needed to downsize from the moment they left the family. But see, that's not good enough for them, okay? Their idea of who they are and what they represent is so inflated in their own minds that they cannot see the forest for the trees. They're like the type of people that walk around and pick fights with people and say, you know, don't you know who I think I am? I mean, that is Harry and Meghan to an absolute T. So personally, yeah, I think they are getting all that they deserve. I think that the Lord is making sure that they get what they deserve, but he's doing it, hopefully, to help them see the light. I don't think they will, but we still need to continue to pray for these freaking fools. We will continue to talk about them because they are fools that need to be called out. But what do y'all think? I'm getting fired up here. But yeah, I'd better shut up and wrap it up here. I am losing my light rapidly. We're having a little bit of an afternoon summer rainstorm here in Germany. It's cloudy right now when it's raining, but it was so pretty. Yesterday, I was walking to the store with my son and my husband, and it was totally bright and sunny, and there was just a few globs of rain falling as we were walking back to our place. And I just love that. I love when it rains and it's sunny at the same time. I want to know, remember that song? Have you ever seen the rain coming down? I love that song. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please watch my Errol Flynn Slept Here series. If you need a palate cleanse from Meghan, it is really fascinating. Errol Flynn is nothing but entertaining. He wrote an autobiography called My Wicked, Wicked Ways, and that man is indeed wicked. Burned out and died at the age of 50 with all the hard living that he did, all the womanizing, all the adventuring, all the traveling. Go watch that series. It really needs a lot more love. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Bye.